so much for having me today.
Oh, this is an absolute pleasure because I have just finished reading a book. I actually took it with me on holiday.
I love that you took it on holiday.
My husband said, that looks a bit heavy. And, it looks a bit like a heavy thing, this reading about the lymphatic system. I said, you know what? I am riveted by this book. And I was, honestly, Lisa, I'm so grateful that you've put this out in the world. So firstly, congratulations on publishing a book.
Thank you. That's so nice of you to say. Thank you.
Oh, it's the truth. So the first thing that struck me, I think, reading your book was this is such a personal mission for you, isn't it?
Yes. I think you're one of the first people to really get that or say that during one of these interviews I've done.
It shone through. And I have to say, and this is going to sound a bit weird, but I was actually quite moved at the end of the book.
Oh.
Almost to the point of, not quite teary, but almost, because what it struck me of as was that you, and I will ask you to talk about this in a minute, but you went through losing your mum very early. Mm-hmm. And what it struck me was that this had been such a life transforming event for you, but you'd kind of taken it and gone on to create this incredible mission. And what I think came through so strongly is that you just want to share this with the world because you've discovered this and you want everybody to know about it. So, Lisa, would you mind just rewinding a little bit to when you were a 10-year-old child and what was going on for you then?
Sure. Well, thank you so much for saying that. I think that, it in a way, when you release something into the world, it takes on its own life for people in however form that does. And, I think different people have said different things about it. And you really did kind of strike to the heart of what this work has been for me and what I've seen it do for other people. Because lymphatic work really has transformed other people's lives. That was my kind of hope when I went into the work. But rewinding, like you said, to when I was 10 years old and my parents sat us down, as I say in the book, on the couch and told us that our mother had lung cancer, was her first diagnosis. And in those days, it was the late 70s. People didn't talk about cancer. And it was kind of a taboo subject. And so I didn't have a lot of knowledge on what that meant and the gravity of it. I knew in my heart and soul that it was serious. And she embarked on a few-year journey for, doctors in Los Angeles and in Texas and chemotherapy, radiation, surgeries, and it metastasized to her brain and then back to her lung and, losing her hair. And it was, definitely a traumatic few years. But she also, as I write in the book, had a family friend who taught meditation and guided visualization. And we were not hippies by any means. It sounds so hippie-ish, but, we were a very middle of the road Los Angeles family. And this practitioner taught us and my brother and I how to meditate and do creative visualization to help heal, the internal landscape, if you will. It's what I call it now, of our mother's cancer cells. And it wasn't this thing we had to do, but it was just this thing we embarked on, an adjunct as a family. And, looking back at that time, I think that really did develop this, otherworldly sense of how to help somebody be comfortable as they're going through an illness.
Yeah. And it's such a beautiful legacy, I think, for your mum to have seen what you have brought to the world and this light that you're shining. And I think that's why I found it. Oh, well, that's why I found it so moving, because it was like this. It was kind of like your mum was almost on all the pages, if you like, because of your passion. So
you are the first interviewer who's made me cry. It's in the sweetest, most beautiful way, I mean, it's been 30 something years, and that, whenever you go through something, you take a step back, there's almost this objective piece of it now. But yes, I mean, I love that came through for you, because it really is a love letter to my mother's legacy.
Yeah, exactly. That was the word I was searching for. Yeah. And that's what I got. So it's a really, really special book. And for me, I have to say, I knew very little about the lymphatic system. And when I thought about it, Lisa, the only times I used to hear this subject crop up in day-to-day life was, I know, like many women, many other women who've had breast cancer. I mean, we all do. And it would be like someone telling me, oh, it's not gone to the lymph nodes, or it has gone to the lymph. And that was the only time I heard about these lymph nodes. That in that context of this life-threatening disease.
Yes.
Whereas you have completely reframed the whole thing for me, and that you don't need to wait till you're got cancer to think about this thing.
Yes, thank you. That is totally my mission. And I see that in my daily practice and in my daily work. Or you hear of lymph nodes swelling in the neck if you're fighting an infection. You hear about lymph when there's a problem in this negative context. And what I've done in my work and what I've seen in my work is that when you access your lymph system, and when either you get a lymphatic massage or you give yourself one, which is I'm hoping people can do, is you're accessing this beautiful, invisible cleansing system that really supports every other system of your body to give your systems access to vibrant health. Yeah. And I do want to reframe the word lymph, and I want it to be this beautiful word for people, not this scary word for people.
Yes. Yeah. Because it is scary when it equals breast cancer. I mean, that's terrifying, isn't it?
Of course.
Tell us, Lisa, just rewind you a little bit. How did you get to be this specialist, who counts like Larry David? I was very excited. Huge fan of Curb, huge fan. So very excited to see, a testimonial from Larry David in your book. So how did you get to be this person who is a specialist in lymphatic system?
So after my mother died, I was really interested in, how do you live well? And, I was young, but I started kind of reading books on Hinduism and reincarnation and Buddhism. And in college, I studied cultural anthropology and was interested in the way different cultures heal. And I went on to massage school after college because I wanted to kind of understand what other cultures do without being somebody who imposes on other cultures or takes from other cultures. I really wanted to go in as an insider. So to have a seat at the table, I wanted to go into the healing arts. And I sort of thought about all of them. I didn't want to be an acupuncturist and poke people with needles, and I didn't want to be a chiropractor and crack people. I see all those practitioners. I'm just saying it wasn't my method. It didn't resonate with me. So I went into massage school, I think because of that sensitivity I developed, laying my hands on my mother when she was young, and just how touch can just be so deeply therapeutic. And in massage school, I was lucky enough that one of the required courses was lymphatic massage. Uh-huh. And I took deep tissue and Swedish and all of that, which is great, but I fell in love with how lymphatic massage felt for me. It was so deeply relaxing, and I speak about this in the book. It really does evoke the parasympathetic rest and digest calming of the nervous system. It helped my digestive system. It helped clear up some of my acne. And it really just dropped me into this completely transformative state where it just felt like there wasn't trauma in my body. And I loved doing the work. It is, though I describe it in the book, it feels like the rhythm of lymph is slow, like the way seaweed undulates in the ocean. It's like a moving meditation. And my teacher taught us Tai Chi and Qigong, and it felt like we are doing Tai Chi ourselves. We need to be comfortable as practitioners. And that moving meditation is the rhythm of lymph to help clear out those toxins in the body. And our teacher was also very intent on explaining the deep science, the biology and physiology of lymph, because it isn't just this woo-woo system. It's grounded in science. It's part of your immune system. So she was very adamant about learning the science. And the science does not come easily to me. So it was challenging for me. It took years for me to get it. And one day we were sitting there and she said, if you like this work, you can go on and get certified to do this work because it's very beneficial for cancer patients.
So and that's when... Did that like ring something in your head or your heart?
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
It was just this knowing of, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do with my life. And I was, young enough in my mid-20s, but I had always been so envious in high school or college of people who knew what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
That wasn't me right away, but I was so lucky to follow what I thought and what I loved. And when I got to this moment in massage school and understanding that this type of massage is an immune boosting massage, it just was such common sense to me. And I thought, why isn't everybody doing this?
Indeed. Why not? I mean, especially now, Lisa, where everyone is talking about our immune system because we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Right.
But I don't hear anyone talking about the lymphatic system. I think this link with our immune system is very, very underappreciated. So tell us, what has the lymphatic system got to do with our immunity?
Well, thank you for saying that. And it amazes me. I listened to all these podcasts this past year and a half, and I listened to all these doctors, and very rarely do they use the word lymph when they talk about the immune system. And I'm really hoping that changes. So your immune cells, your B cells and your T cells, are actually born in your lymphoid organs. They're born in your bone marrow, and they migrate to other lymphoid organs, such as your spleen is a lymphoid organ. That's where your B cells are produced. They migrate to your thymus, which is where those cancer-fighting T cells are produced, right? Tonsils, appendix, spleen, thyroid, Peyer's patch. These are your lymphoid organs, which basically means you have a high concentration of bacteria in those areas. So you have a lot of lymphatic tissue to help move out and clear out your first line of defense against illness, the bacteria and toxins that can accumulate in those high traffic areas. Your lymph system is often referred to as the highway of your immune system. So it absorbs those excess waste and toxins and bacteria that gets accumulated in that space between your cells, and it moves them to the areas where you have lymph nodes, typically the neck, armpits, chest, abdomen, and thighs. And in those lymph nodes, that's where your immune cells recognize, do they need to fight an infection? Do they need to fight toxic debris or cancer cells? Mm-hmm. And they do that job in the lymph nodes before that fluid returns. It goes through lots of channels, lymph channels and ducts, and more lymph nodes before it returns back to the bloodstream. So it's this incredibly important surveillance system. The lymph vessels in your gut that line the small intestine are your first line of defense against foodborne illness. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It makes up 70% of your immune system. It's quite important.
Very, for sure. So this is like a kind of garbage collection system that carries away all the bad stuff.
All the excess waste that gets accumulated. Yeah. Right. So your blood cells, the blood capillaries and the blood system brings nutrients to the cells. And then you kind of have like a runoff or a die-off. And some of that gets reabsorbed into the blood system, but some of it doesn't. And that's that excess waste that hangs out in that interstitial fluid space in our body. That's where the lymph system comes in and absorbs it like roots of a tree and takes it through its channels, kind of like rain gutters, clearing it out before it gets cleared through the bloodstream.
Right. Okay. So, and this is it's kind of like a milky white fluid, isn't it?
Great question. So it is like a colorless fluid most places of your body, and it becomes that famous milky white color in the gut.
Okay.
When it absorbs the excess fat in the gut, that's in the cisterna chyli, which is just anterior to your spine, and it absorbs excess fat in the gut. That's when it gets that famous chyle milky white color.
So what I found really interesting in the book, of so many things that really struck me, is that this has been known in ancient cultures for forever, hasn't it? Whether it's, I think you cited China and Egypt and Greece, that they knew about the lymphatic system. So how?
But they couldn't quite prove it.
Uh-huh.
And it's taken centuries. And you see, I have this timeline that was beautifully, I think, illustrated by my illustrator, Emma. It's taken centuries to really understand how the lymph system is systemic and how it flows systemically through every system of your body. It wasn't until 2012 that we discovered how it works in the brain with the cerebral spinal fluid to clear out the amyloid plaque that's indicated in neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and MS. And so as you see in the timeline, different parts of, different centuries, whether it's the 17th century, the 16th century, that you see these very important discoveries of parts of the lymph system. And I think some of that really has to do with it is so microscopic that it's hard to detect. One of my girlfriends is a orthopedic pediatric surgeon, and she said to me, Lisa, when we dissect cadavers in med school, we can't see the lymph vessels.
Wow.
She's like, it's this magical invisible system that, technology is catching up now. Yeah. And I think that's why we're able to have all these incredible discoveries now. And we're going to see even more ability to unlock really sort of key to helping us understand the pathways to disease cures or manifestations from understanding how lymph flows.
So what sort of transformations do you see in people? Because you work alongside doctors, don't you? And you work with cancer patients, and you work with all sorts of people. Certainly not people who are just ill, but in a preventative way. There's one story which I definitely want to tell, which is about the purple foot. Was it a foot that changed color?
Incredible story. Yes, that's an incredible story. I'll share that. I'll back up for a moment and say there's this work, the manual lymphatic drainage, was actually born from Dr. Vader in the south of France. And he was a physiotherapist in the 30s. And what he discovered, he was working in the south of France, and he'd get a bunch of people from England that would come vacation in the summer. And he would find when he worked on and did the strokes and technique that we still practice today, when he would massage that lymph fluid to the lymph nodes, he would really help the English root out the damp, cold winters and some of the flus and congestion that really took root in the body, help them move that out doing these techniques. So a lot of this work is rooted in the preventative cold and flu, moving that fluid out that can really get congested. And when those toxins accumulate, that's when disease takes root, because we know inflammation is at the root of most chronic illnesses. So when we help move out inflammation through the lymph system, you can really weed out some of the issues that are really, robbing you of your health. So that is really the root of lymph drainage. And then you take it into the disease, and there are studies that show it's really beneficial for fibromyalgia, athletic recovery, and skin, dental surgery. So many surgeons refer to lymphatic drainage therapists because it's so wonderful to help with inflammation. But then when you talk about cancer patients, I'm not quite sure how it is in England, but in the US, it's covered by insurance in hospitals and clinics because people are at risk of getting a disease called lymphedema. If the lymph nodes have been removed or lymph vessels have been cut during surgery or radiation, you don't grow lymph nodes back. So what can happen is sort of like you're removing some of the plumbing. So people can get an accumulation of lymph fluid in the arm if lymph nodes under the armpit have been removed. So we can really help manage that by working early with somebody. I like to sort of meet somebody right at diagnosis so we can work preventative and early with them. But then on a preventative side that you said, just keeping that lymph system moving is so important because it doesn't have a central pump to move it the way the heart pumps the vascular system, the blood system, right? So the lymph system depends on exercise, muscle movement, deep breathing. I'm sorry if I'm like talking so fast. I'm trying to get
No, it's good. Keep it coming.
And lymph massage, deep breathing. Your lymph vasculature, the lymph vessels are twice as vast as the bloodstream, twice as vast as the blood vasculature. So it needs your movement, your muscle movement, deep breathing, massage, and it can really help, restore glowing skin. I see so many people that come in with acne, eczema, and when you have an overaccumulation of waste in the body, your lymph system, which only pumps 6 to 12 times per minute, can get backlogged with waste product. So you want to keep moving and clearing that system out.
Okay. So the sorts of changes that you see in people are skin clearing up and getting eczema, a nice glow.
Inflammation, helping to clear, quell inflammation, digestive issues. I have so many people that come to me, and I have a lot of men who unknowingly, they store a lot of tension in their abdomen. Huh. We always think of tension being stored in the neck and shoulders and the muscle system, but so many of us store our emotions in the gut, and many people don't massage the gut. I don't know how it is in Europe, but in England, but in the United States, it's quite taboo to massage the stomach. But the abdomen, those vital organs in your abdomen have a motility, and you can really improve your digestion, some emotions that get trapped there just from massaging the gut. So I see a lot of digestion issues clear up, which also relate to the skin, right? Again, like I said, I work with a lot of people post-operative surgery that can really help healing wounds and surgery. And just to get back to that story that you said about the red foot. So I was called to work with somebody who had ALS, and her foot was really swollen and purple. And we knew that it wasn't going to get better, with ALS, but they had a caregiver to come in. And so they said, come and massage, teach the caregiver to massage. And so they stayed in the wheelchair, and I just massaged the lymph nodes at the neck, the armpit, the abdomen, the top of the thigh. Before I even touched the foot, her foot returned to skin color.
Yeah. How incredible for you to see that with your own eyes.
Even I was amazed, 20 years doing this work. And it's not going to stay that way with ALS because they're ambulatory. But to provide that relief on a regular basis, that's what the beauty of lymph work is. It's systemic. So the more you massage yourself, the more you really get clearing through those excess toxins that can get trapped in the body.
So I think that was a true revelation when I came across your work, Lisa, was that this was something that you could do yourself. Because I'd actually had a lymphatic massage. I'd never had one before, but actually I was given a massage as a present, and this woman happened to do it. And I thought, oh gosh, maybe I'll try that. No, I didn't try that. I had a conventional massage with her, but she would not shut up throughout the entire massage. She was going on and on and on about the lymphatic system. She just wouldn't shut up, like couldn't relax for a second. And it was the same week that I got an email from one of your colleagues, suggesting that you come on the podcast. And I thought, oh, this is a bit of a signal going on here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a bit of a signal. So I got this lady back to do, and it was really incredibly relaxing because it's so feather light, and she'd been properly trained. So I felt incredibly chilled after having this. And it looked like she was hardly doing anything because it was just so gentle. But it was beautiful. And then I was actually, when I was reading your book, I was actually in Portugal, and I happened to pass a kind of holistic health place, and I saw they did, one of the many things they did was lymphatic massage. I thought, oh, this is another sign. I'll go. I've been walking a load. I'll go and have that. Well, I didn't want to kind of interrogate the guy as to his qualifications because I'm British and, it felt very impolite to do that. So I get on the bed and literally the moment he dug his like knuckles into the back of my knee, I practically yelped and jumped off the mat. And I thought, oh no, I know this is not right. This is not right. But I felt too impolite to say, oh, actually, can I switch to something else? So I kind of went through with it. But the point is, you need to check, if you're going to have a lymphatic massage, you need to check that the person has been properly trained.
Well, yeah, I love that you're bringing this subject up. It is such an important subject to bring up because people are being trained in a lot of different techniques. Mm-hmm. And now people are using the word because it is finally, trending.
It's a bit trendy, isn't it? Yeah,
well, I'm so happy that it's trending. I've been waiting 28 years for it to trend. But, it's a bit of the wild, wild west. And you don't need to be so feather light. I do like to have a little bit more of a grip of the fluid, but it's really not, but you don't go down to the muscle bed.
Yeah.
So I sort of say between a feather and a quarter, or a dime, mm-hmm. right? You do want to grip the fluid and move it. But what is happening, especially in the United States, is there's a lot of people who are doing, they're blending it with a contouring massage to get people sort of like, thin for a day, slimming the waistline, which I'm okay with. But a lot, well-trained people are saying they're doing a blend. And, you cannot say manual lymphatic drainage unless you've been trained in the Vater technique, right? And he's European. So I will say to people, what is it that you're looking for? And yes, take a minute and look and see. If somebody just wants to sort of get thin for the day, you might have a practitioner who is going to work deeper. But you don't want to work deeply in the lymph nodes behind the knee and in the neck and the armpit and the chest. I would encourage people to speak up because I like to, be very scientific when I say you might piss off the lymph system, right? You might really aggravate it and get the reverse feeling.
I felt I was, but it was a choice between that or pissing off this sweet guy, So I just kind of went for pissing me off.
I know. See, I guess because I'm California, I always speak out, I'm not so polite in that way. I will tell somebody that it's too rough. And I would encourage you to, just say, ooh, that's a bit too hard for me. I don't mean to, be disrespectful, but I can't relax. Yeah. And a practitioner, a massage practitioner wants you to get you to get the most out of it. So I would say, I can't relax. It's just a bit too much. Would you mind?
Yeah. But anyway, the great thing is that where you're coming from is you actually don't need to invest in actually going to see one of the very few practitioners if you can find one, because this is something you can do on yourself. And that was the big revelation.
Yes, I've been working on myself for 20 something years. I don't have somebody that I see on a regular basis for that very reason. I've gone to a massage place where they list it on there and I went and I tried it and I'm like, that was not a lymphatic massage. I can work on myself and really get so much benefit. If you are going through an illness or if you have had surgery, I do recommend you find a certified lymphatic therapist to work with first so that you understand what it feels like. I teach workshops in person and on Zoom all the time. And to get somebody to understand that it is a light touch is so hard. We are so used to deeper, more, harder is better. Mm-hmm. And I'm really trying to flip that, message so that people understand that really this lighter dropping into that parasympathetic nervous system where healing occurs is the way to go with lymph. So I do recommend if somebody is facing something, find a therapist to work with and come here. I have a digital course launching. The book is there for you to sort of explore that, this new way to work on yourself. And I say it in the book, if anyone has ever had a kid, when they're babies and they're crying, you would never massage them deeply.
No.
You would never dig in to that baby that's crying. You would just have this light, soothing touch, like Play-Doh on their skin. It was before they really had muscles developed. They're like these pudgy little Play-Doh babies, right?
Yeah.
So that's the work on yourself. That's the feeling.
Yeah. Because it's just under the skin, isn't it?
The initial lymphatic capillaries that absorb that fluid and move it out is superficial. You have a superficial layer and a deeper layer. So what I want to encourage people to do with their lymph massage is to work on that superficial absorption layer, which is quite horizontal, whereas like a deep tissue massage is quite vertical to the muscle bed. So stay in that light plane of fluid, that horizontal plane where you're moving that fluid to the lymph nodes. Massaging it gently is going to encourage the contraction, the opening and closing of the lymph vessels to absorb and transport that fluid. Whereas if you're going too deep, you can, kind of anger your lymph system. I get people in all the time who get more inflamed with deep tissue massages.
Right. Oh,
because it's too aggravating to the system.
Yeah, that's definitely not what you want. So I've been watching, you have beautiful Instagram videos, which are relaxing to watch, even if you don't actually do what you're doing, because you're just so enthusiastic and warm and passionate about it that you kind of feel better just watching you. But there are some very simple moves, like the Spock move, I think you refer to it as.
One of my favorites.
So I can't actually do the finger thing, but I find my own way of doing it. And it's very simple, isn't it? So can you just describe it?
Yeah, so what I like to tell people, if you're going to work on your face, which is one of the easiest ways to feel a relief almost immediately, is understand the fluid from the head and the face is going to drain to the lymph nodes at the collarbone, just above the clavicle there. So it's just, and I tell people work with the pads of your fingers, and it's a gentle stroke down into the hollow there. And then you want to clear from behind the ear with the pads of your palm, moving that fluid down towards, it's a little bit more than you're petting yourself, but it's just this gentle pulsating stroke of the skin from the neck down to the base of the neck there. The Spock move, which I'm going to get you to do, is you separate your fingers. So either separate your finger, the first and the second finger, the second and the third, whichever feels kind of easier. So if it's easier for you to just do the first finger, place a finger behind your ear and some fingers in front of your ear.
Yes.
Whoops. Sorry, somebody's trying to call me. Okay, we're back. We're back.
Yeah.
And then you want to move the fluid back behind your ear and down the neck. So it's what we call a stationary stroke. And all the strokes, I always like to say, are a half circle, because you don't want to move the fluid back to where you began. So you kind of make a half circle and then you let go.
Right.
And you let the skin, you'll feel the skin rebound, and then you start again.
Yeah.
I'm so used to doing it that I make it look like a circle, but it's not, because I stay on the skin. And then you just follow that fluid back down.
Yeah. So that's very simple and very accessible, with it being the face, but also very comforting, because it feels like a daily, nightly ritual.
Yes.
But it's this beautiful self-care, wonderful thing that we can do for ourselves. So, and we don't touch, we know how therapeutic touch is, but also touching yourself is therapeutic.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't think about it that much. That's why I really am encouraging women to massage the armpits, where the fluid from the breast tissue drains, right? We don't think about that, but oftentimes I'll just lie in bed. We're wearing bras all the time, which can really cut off that circulation. And it's so hard to get the breast tissue to really soften. And so much, there's so much breast density or fibrotic tissue in the breast, and it's really not getting touched. Maybe it gets touched momentarily, in a loving capacity by a partner. But what I really want to encourage women, men as well, is to massage your own breasts towards the armpits, towards the lymph nodes. you can really soften that environment around the breasts, underneath and above it, that gets so tight. And I really, we'll only often touch our breasts to look for a lump. Again, danger, right?
Yes.
Scary.
Yeah.
But what I say to people is massage it early, massage it often. Get to know the landscape of your breast. And, I don't encourage somebody to massage a hard lump. No, you want to be soft and nurturing, like a field of flowers, right? You just want to sort of lay in that landscape and be gentle in that area.
Yeah. I mean, again, so easy.
So easy.
It's so accessible to people. And I would urge anybody to look at even if they're not on Instagram, to go onto Instagram just to see your videos, because you do make it so simple and such a joyful thing, because you're so smiley with it.
Yes.
It looks very
such
inviting.
A beautiful system. Such a great system.
Yeah. And the illustrations in the book, which are so beautiful and so delicate, and you can see it does look like this atlas, this very, very intricate atlas, which you think, my goodness, who knew that you're carrying around this incredible rivulets and rivers, and it's really incredible. Yeah.
Yes.
So also I wanted to touch on a few other things which impact. So drinking water. So overlooked. I'm always, as a health coach, I'm always getting people to do the basics, and one of which is to drink water, because so many people just go chronically dehydrated. So why do we need to drink water?
Great question. I love this question. Your cells are bathed in fluid, and the lymphatic fluid is actually a protein-rich fluid. And I'm not talking about chicken and turkey protein. I'm talking about the plasma protein, the runoff of the cells. I'm talking about, that's, containing all the bacteria and toxins and plasma protein. So your lymph fluid contains those proteins. What happens in science, and I won't get too deeply into the physiology, although I do cover it in the book, which is when those cells get dehydrated, it can't get moved out with that fluid. It used to be back in, I don't know, it might have been the 50s and 60s and 70s, that when somebody had a lot of water retention, they would give them diuretics to sort of like help them lose that water weight. But what we found is that interstitial fluid that contains the bacteria, toxins, waste, and lymph would get like more fibrotic, would get harder and hard to move out that waste, because you are removing that fluid that helps drain that protein, plasma protein waste of the cells. So when you are drinking water, you are going to help bathe in moving that lymph fluid out to the channels it needs to get. It's same thing, kind of like your rain gutters, a similar system, right? The leaves collect in the rain gutters. So you want to help flush it out, not just with a broom, but with a little bit of liquid, right? You want to clean things out, that soapy water, to help get it to move out. Same thing, you are hydrating. Your organs also need that water and fluid to function a lot. And I talk about that also in the digestive process, the motility, the peristalsis of those internal organs. They need that movement and fluid to optimize their function.
Yeah. So drinking water. And then you talk a lot about breathing from the diaphragm. So again, most of us are breathing from up here because we're also stressed and our shoulders are by our ears. But just that mere fact of dropping into the diaphragm, that helps move the lymph. Is that right?
It is so incredible. So we talk about the superficial network of the lymph system. Then you have a deeper network. The deepest and largest lymph vessel is called the thoracic duct. And it takes the fluid from the lower half of the body, the legs and the abdomen, the waist, the front and back of the body, and moves it up the thoracic duct to bring it back to the bloodstream. So you are defying gravity, moving that lymph fluid from the lower half of the body back up towards the heart. And a wonderful way to engage that lymph vessel is by deep diaphragmatic breathing. That contraction changes the rate in the chest to help increase that, what we call the automotoricity, that movement of that fluid back up towards the bloodstream. So you can have a wonderful effect just by doing some deep diaphragmatic breathing.
Yeah. Again, something we can all learn to do.
Yeah.
And then obviously movement, very, very key. But what I loved is in the book, you included so many gentle movements. So even things like walking, swimming, qigong, tai chi, all of which I love, that these help just get, because I always thought of just the rebounder, and actually I do have a rebounder, and I know it's wonderful, but I never really thought of the kind of softer, gentler types of movement.
Yes, when you think about, and I say this in the book, where your lymph nodes are located in the hinges of our body, the neck, the armpit, the chest, the thighs, elbows, and knees. And I believe we're designed not only to get maximum movement, you're always turning your head and neck and reaching for things and walking, but also those areas of protection, right? For your lymph nodes and your immune cells, right? These wonderful areas of crevices of the body. So just walking, you are engaging your lymphatic system. Swimming, the external pressure of that water also is going to help really move that lymph system. And biking, anytime you're engaged in exercise, you are going to increase the lymphatic circulation to move out some of that excess waste in the body. Yeah,
just another great reason for moving our body daily. So that's wonderful. Yes. And then another thing which you talked about was toxins. So this is such a big subject, I think, for women especially, so many things that women put on their skin, perhaps not realizing that most of it does get absorbed. So tell us a little bit about the effect of toxins.
And in Europe, you ban about, I think it's 1,600 chemicals that in the US are allowed.
Yeah. So we still have plenty, Lisa, I'm afraid to say. Oh my gosh.
You're not perfect over there.
Oh, no, by no stretch.
Yes, I mean, when you think about all the chemicals, I don't even understand why they get put in our beauty products or our skincare product, our household products as well. You put that on your skin and it gets absorbed through the skin, the porous skin, and has to get removed through the lymph system. So yet you are asking your lymph system to yet remove another toxin, another chemical that can create this overwhelming, effect on the lymph system to have to yet, drain these toxins. And when you also think about deodorant, they put chemicals and aluminum and preservatives, right, for shelf life in our deodorant that we stick right in the armpit where your lymph nodes that take the fluid from the breast and the arm. So that's your first thing to do is if you are going to wear deodorant at all, which I think so many people during the pandemic stopped doing, which is great, find a natural one without chemicals. It goes right into the lymph nodes.
Yeah.
It's just mind-boggling.
It really is. So just for British listeners, aluminum is aluminium, in case you're wondering.
Oh, thank you.
we pronounce it slightly differently. But yes, it does seem kind of crazy that we would smother under our arms in a heavy metal that is so close to the breast tissue.
And even lotion on your body, right? What is in that lotion? There are so many wonderful natural homemade products that you can use that aren't going to overwhelm the toxins in your body.
Yeah. So this
and the environmental toxins of the household cleaner, same thing. They're hormone disruptors. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what I was just going to say is that what you're sharing here, Lisa, is a very holistic approach where it's saying, we need to move. We also need to drink water. They're all very simple, gentle things, which cumulatively will combine to us feeling kind of radically different with these very small, simple measures.
Yes.
That we can get our lymph moving, and that changes our whole life. And I was very interested actually in the emotional. You talked about an emotional link, which I really wasn't aware of the emotional link.
So a while back in the beginning of the interview, when you asked me about some of the changes I've seen, I should have mentioned that. So I'm so glad we're circling back to that, which is, people often don't realize stress and the emotions that really can take a toll on the body stress can release cortisol, which is so inflammatory. And when you are working on yourself, when you're getting a lymphatic massage or doing it to yourself, you are dropping into that parasympathetic calming nervous system. And it really can help move out some of the emotions that do get trapped in our cells. I mean, this is, it is based in science, right? The hippocampus and the amygdala, these are trauma gets stored in our cells. It gets stored in the brain, and we can have this reaction. So much of us are carrying around emotions and stress. I had this one virtual client that I didn't mention in the book, and she would get a swollen lymph node in her neck. And we sort of traced it back to every time she talked to her mother. Her lymph node would swell in her neck. So what I want people to think about is, you're not always going to cut off the relationship with your mother, but to look at and investigate what are the toxic relationships that you have with people. I get a lot of clients who've had cancer and they reassess their work environment, their friendships, their relationships that might be creating a stressful relationship. And how can you put more systems in place to mitigate stress and to deal with your emotions? And I'm not necessarily saying you need to go to therapy. You need to, not that I'm pro therapy, but what I'm saying is you don't even, just by working on yourself, just by massaging yourself and pouring self-love and self-care to yourself, you are going to have a beneficial effect on your emotions and your mood and your outlook. I see it time and time again. People just feel more joyful. They feel better because you are removing some of that negative toxins in the body. You have more freedom and vibrancy in the body.
Wow. So that's huge, isn't it? Because you're talking about vibrant energy, but also emotional freedom in a way.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Gosh.
Right. I mean, that's, we were talking before we began about, we're both mothers and, wanting to really educate our children. How do we teach our children coping mechanisms? And it might take them 20 or 30 years, but we can lead by example, right? Yeah. We can show them that mom is taking a minute, and they see me massaging my armpits all the time. I massage their bellies all the time. I'm hoping that they will start to massage their bellies and understand that, oh yes, they have a stomach ache. Here's touch. And that we know the gut, brain, mood connection. So that's a simple thing. They know deep breathing. They don't necessarily do it all the time, right? When they're going through puberty, it's just emotions flying everywhere. But can we stop for a minute? And can we just take a couple minutes to just touch ourselves and create and change the landscape and bring a more vibrant, even if it's, for a few moments, we have this tool in our toolbox to help us feel better.
That's it. And I love what you just described because it's such a lovely way for you to connect with your children as well through touch. It's such a primal way. Touch predated language or anything like that. And it's just that I love that you, because they're not little kids, are they? You've got 11
they're 10 and 13.
Yeah, exactly.
And, the 13-year-old, although he's, doesn't want hugs and kisses, he does want his nightly, few minute massage, and if he eats something that doesn't agree with him, if he eats, he loves food and, he loves trying new food and that doesn't always agree with him. So he knows now massaging the stomach is going to help alleviate that. It's going to help move that through the digestive system and make him feel better.
And these are simple practices which you show in videos, aren't they?
Yes, I have some free tutorials on Instagram, and my digital course is launching at the end of July, probably in the beginning of August. Yes. And that course, I think, is anywhere anyone can access from anywhere in the world.
So you don't have to be a medical practitioner.
No, it's for the layperson.
Anybody. It's for the layperson.
It's for the layperson to have access. Not everybody, the book, there's so many beautiful illustrations, but some people want to dive a little bit deeper. And it's also if you're a health coach, a fitness trainer, you want to educate your clients on things that they can do for themselves. This course has about 11 videos, so you can really understand how to work with the lymph system to feel better.
Yeah, I love it. So where can people find you if they want to find out more?
Yes, I'm at the Lymphatic Message, because it's a message, as you said. On Instagram, my website is thelymphaticmessage.com.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, Lisa, I want to thank you for your time and also for what you've brought to the world in this book and all your videos. It's so important because if I didn't know about this, I'm sure plenty of other people didn't know about it, and that we can actually, engage with our body in such a positive way to bring about these changes. So thank you
thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you today.
Oh, likewise. And wishing you loads of luck with the launch of the course and everything that you do.
Thank you.
If you're ever in Manchester, come and visit.
I would love to. I would love to see a soccer match too when I'm there. A football match, excuse me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lisa. Take care.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.